There's so many different ways of making meatballs, and this one would have to be one of my favorites because it's sweet and sour and it's super easy to do. So it's definitely not in a red sauce, and instead of pork and veal mince, I'm going to be using turkey mince. It's super lean and it makes the best meatballs. Now before we start making that, I've just been preheating my pan. You want to use a good heavy base pan just like this one. I've preheated it, and you know that it's really hot because I've got that solid red thermo signal. So I'm going to start by frying my onions. I want really good colour on the onions. So a good splash of extra virgin olive oil. I want about a tablespoon or so. And then in with one onion that I've sliced. Now these are red onions, and we're just going to get them frying while we mix and form our meatballs. So into this turkey mince, I'm going to add some breadcrumbs. I like to use fresh breadcrumbs for this, so about a handful. You can just use store-bought ones if you like to, but you do need it with turkey meatballs just so it holds its shape. Into that, some parmesan that I've grated, one egg, and I'll just crack the egg into the bowl first. And instead of just adding it whole, it's always a good idea just to give it a quick whisk. Excellent, in it goes. Now for some garlic, I've got 2 cloves of garlic, and I'll just use my fine grater just to grate that straight in. Now, this is just a classic base recipe for meatballs, but by all means, be adventurous with what you add to it. You can change up the cheeses if you like. You could add some cooked onion and many different herbs. I'm actually using parsley for this recipe, but I'm going to be adding it later on in the cooking process. Now for some seasoning, good pinch of salt and some pepper. And before I get my hands in here to give it a good mix and form into meatballs, just want to toss these gorgeous onions, and you can see we're getting a really nice even colour on those onions, and that's because of the heavy base we have on this pan. All right, in with a good mix, combine it nicely, and I do like to roll these out so they're roughly the size of walnuts. Okay, meatballs have been rolled. Have a look at these onions, perfectly caramelised. I am going to take it out of the pan for now because I do want to start cooking the meatballs. So we'll just pop them to the side for now. And I'm not going to add any more oil to this pan. It's got a really good non-stick coating, so these won't stick at all. So in with the meatballs. And because it is so hot, we're just flash frying them. Turkey's so lean that it will take no time at all to cook. Think of it like chicken breast. So in they go. You don't want to overcrowd the pan, so use a large pan just like this one. All right, let's start turning them. Oh, see that colour? That's what we're after, a lovely crust on the meatballs. So we'll just carefully turn them with some tongs. They are delicate, so try not to break them up. Okay, and then another way to make sure that they get a nice even colour is just to shake it in the pan like this so we get all sides cooked. Excellent. I'll return the onions to our pan, just scatter them in and around. And now for the sweet and sour component. For the sweetness, I'll add a combination of currants, so a big sprinkle of them, and some sugar, some caster sugar. This is another reason you want a non-stick pan. As soon as you add some sugar, it does tend to stick, but not with a non-stick pan. Again, give it another jiggle and a bit of a toss. To deglaze this pan, I'll add some vinegar. So this is a sour component, and some white wine. And just that steam is going to help cook the meatballs all the way through. For some saltiness, some capers, sprinkle that on. And just a touch of stock, about 200 mils. And now we just want to allow this to bubble away. I do want this sauce to become quite glossy and sticky. And I don't want to cover it, I just want this to reduce. It's going to take another 5 minutes. Okay, this sauce has reduced nicely. See how it's sticky and glossy? just like that. This is just so yummy. So I've turned the heat off and we'll just place it into a really bright platter like this one. And I wouldn't serve this with pasta. This is kind of Scandinavian-like, so I'd probably serve it with some mashed potato, and that sweet and sour sauce just works nicely with that. And just to give this some texture, some toasted pine nuts over the top. And finally, just some fresh parsley. That's definitely a different way of doing meatballs, but they're fantastic. Definitely one to add to the repertoire.